public hearing for Village Code 57, burning open. The changes to the codes are the following. Section 2.1, change title of chapter 57 from open burning to open burning and recreational fires. Section 51, 57.1 and 57.2 of the Poquott Village Code are here amended to read the following. The current section 57-2 is hereby renumbered as section 57-3. And changes to section 57-1 include definitions of bonfire, campfire, open burning, and recreational fires. And changes to section 57-2 list the exceptions of open burning. Would anybody like to make a comment on public hearing for local law 57?
Yes, but I have, first of all, I have a question with regards to.
You please stand up, say your name, your address.
Diana Padilla, 61 Washington Street. The handout that was on the website did not have anything in it labeled 51-3. So, was that incorrect?
No, that 50, it didn't change, did it? 57-3?
I really don't remember.
There's 57-1 definitions.
There's no 57-3.
57.3 is the definition.
But that's not what's
I
printed.
think this is a typo.
That's not in what was printed and not what was printed for available. So this is, I would just like a clarification on what exactly the change in code is that's being proposed, because it's not what was just said out loud is not what was printed and available.
There was no changes to 57?
Are you looking at the printed version?
I'm looking at what was available on the web for me to download.
And where are you looking at it? What part are you looking at?
There is nothing in it that says 50.3 or 57-3.
So
There's
why,
a 57-1 and a 57-2.
there is no 57-3.
This is,
So what are you questioning? I'm not sure.
The mayor just said that there's a change
Right.
in 57-3,
We renumbered it as section 57-3.
and there's no
That's what it
renumbering,
says in the beginning.
Oh, it's 57-2 is renumbered as 57-3, right?
but that's not in the printed thing, so
Yeah, it is.
that's why I would like a
It's in
clarification
2.2.
of,
It's in 2.2 of the printed document.
well, there is no.
It's not.
There's no 57.3,
no,
and yet it says
It's
under
a-
2.2. It
And
says
it's-
amendment to chapter 57 in the Poquott Village Code, sections 57.1, 57.2 of the Poquott Village Code are hereby amended to read as follows, and the current section 57.2 is hereby renumbered as section 57.3, but then there is no 57.3.
correct.
There doesn't have to be. The existing 57.2
You
is
came
now
57.
57.3.
Oh, okay.
It says is hereby renumbered as 57.
Right. So whatever 57.2 is now is renumbered as 57.3.
Okay, so this is the new law, and there's no 57.3.
Correct.
It's
that
the
doesn't
old, it's
have-
57.2, it's the old 57.2, correct?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
It doesn't have to be here. It's
It
just
doesn't change,
renumbered.
it just
It
changed the
didn't
number.
change.
Does that answer your question?
That's part of my question. That was the first question, because that was initially very confusing. So my comments are twofold. One is that there is no statement in this new description of where you can have a fire that anywhere says that it needs to be in any contained area, like a fire ring or a fire whatever. So presumably in this law, you could build a fire anywhere, including in a park, anywhere in a park that you like.
As long as it's continued.
And, no, well, it doesn't say contained. In this,
You want to go through the exceptions?
it doesn't say in a specific contained area. I couldn't find it.
It's if you go to page 3, number 2, the fuel area shall be contained.
What does that mean?
Means that it'll be contained in something.
Is that what that means?
Well, what do you think it means?
I don't know. Usually contained means that someone is monitoring it to keep it from spreading.
Fire shall be.
That's rather than
Number 3
being
says, fire
in a
shall be
specific-
continuously attended
Mm-hmm.
until the fire is completely extinguished.
Right, but in this context, in all other laws that I know other places about people having a contained fire, it does not mean that it is in a specific structure. What that means is that whomever is overseeing the fire must keep it from spreading beyond where they put it. That is different than having it be in a fire pit or in whatever. So that is one thing that I would like clarified. The second is that I would like to request that such fires not be allowed in California Park. We've had numerous hearings about this, and there have been many people, in addition to myself, who've spoken about the very problems that have happened repeatedly with fires in California Park, the disruption it causes to neighbors, the disruption it causes to things that it's not something that has been conducive to positive neighborly behavior, and is something that has been very disruptive and harmful to the people who live adjacent to the park. And therefore, I would like to request that this be changed to not permit fires in California Park, and I would like the wording to be clarified that what you mean by contained.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Lois Mitchell, 49 Van Brunt. Is there a grandfather in about, because people have fire pits by their houses, and they're not 25 feet away. Does that mean that they can't use them?
Yeah, that's really.
Well, generally where there's a health and safety issue, it's not grandfathered. Something is not grandfathered, but we'd have to look at the 25 feet of any structure, combustible material. I'm gonna have to look at that in relation to the state code. There's also state code on that. But generally, if it's a health and deemed to be a health and safety issue, it would not be grandfathered.
Okay, I mean, because I know there's a lot
I
of
think you
people.
raise a good point. It's a good point. Because it speaks to what was brought up before by Mr. Dia. And that is, my feeling is that this code, if people follow the code and are mindful of conditions, that these issues shouldn't be a problem. If they're not a problem, then it doesn't present a health and safety issue. If it doesn't present a health and safety issue, we can't then say that we can go back and legislate against somebody using a pre-existing.
I mean, I don't know, it's just a
Am I right?
question I have, I don't
It's
know.
not
I think if it
helpful.
has a C of O, if it's something that has a C of O from the village, then it's probably gonna continue. If
Well,
it
we-
doesn't have a C of O from the village, probably not.
We had a discussion, we had a lot of good discussions, and I don't think you were at all of them, but one of the discussions had to do with people living very close in this part of the village who might be legislated out of the ability to have a backyard barbecue, recreational fire, just because they don't have a lot of land around them. And this had been in the previous law, or no, maybe it was Town of Brookhaven.
Town of Brookhaven,
Town of
right,
Brookhaven. And so we left it in. I don't think that anybody is going to make an issue out of it unless there is a complaint from a neighbor. The issue, the whole
But
thing
if
about
it's- But if
this,
it's illegal, I'm not talking about, what you're gonna give a wink to. It's just a question. My question is just, the houses here maybe, but the houses in Tinker's Bluff are big enough, and I think there are probably people there, and I know some that have fire pits built in the backyard, near the pool, near the this, near the. So my question is, because if you're gonna give a wink to it, then it makes it all subjective rather than objective. And if the law says a certain thing, then they can't do it. If it says another thing, then they can do it, and that's the way the law should be, not, oh, you can break the law as long as people don't complain. That's not the way the law should be, I don't think.
You speak to the crux of what some of our discussions were, because this thing has been going on for now quite a while, almost a year. We've had a number of discussions about it. The reason we're even going to all this trouble has to do with complaints from residents against other residents.
Yeah, I'm just asking,
And so
yeah.
we get caught in the middle of it, code enforcement got caught in the middle of it, and the issue speaks to, is somebody really creating a problem for a neighbor? We have some people who say, if you light a fire, I'm gonna go on your property and complain to you
Well,
about
but
it.
that's not what it says in here.
Okay, well, we
So
could
you
take it
can't-
out altogether. We could take that out altogether, but my point is this. Code has to have something to intervene.
Yeah,
If there's a neighbor-to-neighbor dispute, again, that's what started this whole thing. If there's a neighbor-to-neighbor dispute, code has to be able to go in and say, look, your smoke is a problem.
Right, but it shouldn't be subjective to the code. It should either be this is the rule or that's the rule. Not, oh, you complain, so it's a problem, but if no one
Well-
complains, so one person can have it and the other person can't, that,
That's not what I'm saying.
that sounds like, but at any rate, that's a question that I have, and I don't think it's been answered. I mean, you're talking about that it's a problem, and that's why I asked the question, because I have a question about it. And also, I have a question about if there's a fire pit, if you're to allow it in public parks, someone can take a fire pit, a portable fire pit, and put it down on Poquott Beach, and just do it down there. So I think, I
They
think.
do that.
They do,
Do they?
Yeah.
yes. The
Well,
village
some
has a
along.
long tradition of that.
Yes.
That is the
At
crux of
Poquott
that.
Beach?
On
Walnut.
I'm talking about the one, I'm sorry, Van Brunt. I call that
You said,
Poquott
well,
Beach.
yes, but they could.
I'm talking about Van Brunt.
But they could do
They
it
could.
then.
They could.
Yeah.
All right, then I think that because I have, I don't know, I was it's at a place where I told people they couldn't burn, but it wasn't here, it was at another beach. And you're not allowed, I think that they weren't allowed to burn there, and they were burning, they were burning poison ivy, and I got poison ivy because they did too, because of the fumes. But I find that burning, using that as using the public part for something like that is annoying. And so I would like not to have burning on public property, but that's just my opinion, as separate from this other question.
Can I just respond to that?
No, I,
Well, for the other people who are in the audience, you
All
raised
right.
a point, I would just like to address it. That we're never going to satisfy everybody, because it was very clear we had at least one hearing, I believe, and then the comments along the way. We have people who are against fires. It's bad for you, it's a fire hazard, it's this and that. We have other people who say, I moved to Poquott for this, it's part of being at the beach during the summertime. It's legal in the town of Brookhaven, and it's mentioned in the International Code in New York State and so on. The issue is somebody going to create a problem for the community at large? Their smoke is going into somebody's house. They're creating a fire hazard. They are going onto somebody's property and demanding that a perfectly good fire is it's polluting the atmosphere and they should put it out immediately. And government gets drawn into that. Code, the police, the fire department was called. We've had a number of these different things happen. So what we said we had to do, number one, the existing code was totally inadequate. It just talked about not burning rubbish in the street. So we needed to have something that addresses the problem. We needed to, and I think for this reason alone, it's a worthwhile exercise because it is now out there for discussion and people talk about it. And that is the idea, if you want to have a campfire, you have to go about it in a certain way. You can't be dumping treated scraps of lumber from somebody's old deck down there and burning chemicals into the air. You can't be smoking out your neighbor. On the other hand, if somebody's having a fire in a fire pit in their backyard and somebody else has a problem with it because it's polluting the atmosphere, well, come on, leave them alone. They're enjoying their backyard and not bothering anybody. So we have a set of rules. We hope we never have to have code respond to any of these things, but at least there is some set of rules. And if somebody is burning something in their backyard, and we've had this complaint all the time from two particular neighbors. The neighbor burns.
With all due respect, all I'm saying, you know, you're doing a major argument. That's something I think that you would have discussed when you were doing the law.
I'm sorry if
I am just saying that I don't want,
your point is well taken. I'm shutting
that's my point of view.
Fine,
That's
thank you.
it.
Would anyone else like to make a comment?
Vince Basile, 32 Washington Street. As many of you know, I fish a lot. I'm down at our park, at the end of Washington, California Park. Fishing's been great this year. I enjoy barbecuing on the beach. We've had some confrontations.
I haven't had a confrontation.
No, I've had confrontations with my neighbors. Come down saying, I don't want you, with an open fire.
Never talked to you.
Barbecuing on a beach, it's a park. Allow us to enjoy a park. I like the idea. I like the idea of having the availability of burning a fire, contained, and I'm all for it.
And I'm confident you will be aware of the smoke conditions.
Oh, yes, it's usually blowing out
Gary,
to sea.
stand up, say your name, address.
Gary Garofano, 14 Highview. I second Vinny. We've had sausage, hot dogs, and no mosquitoes while fishing together on that beach. And really, it is a pleasure. It is a joy being down there having that. And by the way, to be off point a little bit, thank you for taking care of Highview and Sharon, the streets.
That's a
It
different,
was a nice deal.
any other comments?
Dan Ballsy, Chestnut Avenue. I respectfully request once again that the fire pit in California Park is relocated. It is a nuisance to our family and it harms our lifestyle, our sleep. I don't know why after over a year this is still something I need to discuss with the board. There's so many different laws the village wants to enact based on safety, based on health of the village, and this flies in the face of what they're doing. And the mention of it constantly publicly written down as this incredible paper trail that the village is creating that I believe is of deception. And, I love the village and I appreciate everyone that does something for the village, whether they're on the board or off the board. And by having a village sanctioned fire pit installed adjacent to our property, it's forcing my family to constantly be on the defense. It's painting us in a light where we don't get along with our neighbors, and that's completely untrue. The fire pit itself, sold by the Home Depot the village purchased, is made out of wall retaining block. There's nothing about the fire pit that's correct anatomically for producing a clean combustion. It will never burn clean. It's simply a fire in a deep hole. There's no air to get to it. The Home Depot sells that because anybody can put it together. Anybody can put it together without skill. They can put it together without consulting the Army Corps of Engineers, without consulting the DEC, without having a site plan when they construct it in a public park. I mean, it breaks my heart. I'd like to see it relocated to a different location somewhere where it doesn't affect other families. I mean, I think everybody in this room already knows how I feel about it. I just think it would be in the village's best interest to relocate it. I know that if it was never constructed, this law probably wouldn't have been dragged out, and we'd be talking about something else. The location of it as well is at the foot of a hill. The hill acts like a chimney. The temperature difference between the water and the land is always going to cause the smoke to go up the hill unless there's an incredibly strong wind blowing it the other way. I mean, I just don't see it working out where it's located, and I think anybody with a college education or perhaps a background in science would understand that, and to ignore it and disagree, I think really flies in the face of the village's interest in health and safety and community and all the wonderful things we talk about that we're trying to achieve here. And what can I say? I'm heartbroken. Thank you.
Any other comments? Diana?
Diana Padilla, 61 Washington Street. Most other communities around the country that I know, where I've lived, where I work, whatever, they consider open campfires, as you call them, very different than barbecues. And most places that I know of no longer allow open wood campfires because of things like health issues, safety issues, fire issues, and they require things actually in a contained thing like this portable propane barbecue, which doesn't make any smoke, and it cooks fish really nicely, and things like that. And those sorts of things would provide all the fishermen with all the benefits of being able to cook their fish and their hot dogs and have it without harming the health or the well-being of neighbors, and without causing so much grief. This really is astounding to me that we are still going through this, and that it is very sad to me that the impact that the fire pit in California Park has had on people who live adjacent to it has been treated anywhere from cavalierly to rudely, and it's really sad. I'll loan you my portable propane barbecue to take to the beach.
Bring it on
It's
down.
Okay, the other-
the sort of thing
Yeah, can I
that
just say something
other
first?
communities around the country have recognized is an issue, and they've taken steps, and then everybody can be happy.
I would just like to interject again. This is a hearing on an amendment to the open burning
Correct.
law.
And
If you
this was my
recall,
comment.
Dan, we said we were going to table any discussion regarding the placement of that until we had a viable law in place.
Well,
So I would just ask that comments be addressed to,
my comment is
Yes,
that
sir.
I would like to, my comment earlier, and my comment still, is that not having open fires in California Park, that's what I would like to see in this bill. The amendments don't speak to that, the amendments don't speak to containment, the amendments don't speak to anything instead of it just being very nebulous about, you should think about and keep in mind the fact that what you're doing might be unpleasant for others. That is not specific, it is not enforceable in any way, and could be interpreted in a multitude of ways by whomever wished to interpret it.
Thank you for your comment. Any other comments?
Yeah, Gary Garofano, 14 Highview. I think we ought to start fracking in this Padilla's backyard.
Any other comments?
I'm done.
Okay. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'd like a question, since I was just reprimanded for saying things that
You will.
you interpreted as not being responsive to this particular bill, I would like some comment with regards to the comment that was just made.
Okay, you can, this has something to do with the public hearing. You guys want to take it outside after and talk
No,
about it, go right ahead or have a discussion about it, that'd be fine. Is there any more comments that have to do with local law 57?
Yeah, I'm still confused, like if you guys pass this, I'm still confused about what happens with private fire pits, that's all. I mean, rather than it just being subjective if a neighbor complains, which is not, I think, a way to manage a law. And it's not.
Residents are allowed to have fires in their backyard as long as they're contained.
Yeah, but it says in the law, it's 25 feet, and most fire pits are not, in your backyard, are not 25 feet away. And that's not even taking a stand whether I like private fire pits or don't like private fire pits. But I guess the stand would be, I think whatever the law is, it should be understandable and that it should be objective and not subjective in how it's set up.
Any other comments? No. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing? Second?
Second.
Okay.
Take a vote.
You want to vote on it right now?
No, take a vote on to closing the hearing.
Oh, okay. No, I'm in favor. Right.
3-0.
Okay, I call the business meeting to order at 7:26. Pledge allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Frank's sick today, so we don't have anything for public safety. Did you want to say anything? You're okay. Did you want to say anything, Jeff?
I'm working with Frank and his staff on a number of matters, and I'd just like to say that they've been very supportive. Their paperwork is great now, and they're doing a very good job,
Okay.
and I enjoy working with them.
Announcements, if anybody wants to do Toys for Tots, it's here until Monday. Wait, they're picking up on Monday, I think?
No,
No, what day?
I think probably Monday after.
Oh, okay, so another whole week, if you want to drop off toys. And December 12th at 7 o'clock, the planning board's going to have a public hearing for the application of the community dock at the Emma Clark Library for the Village of Poquott. Okay, public comments? Gary?
Gary Garofalo, 14 Highview Avenue. Just like to thank the board, the past board, and the present board for the job you guys did on Highview Avenue for the street.
I have to say, it looks beautiful.
It really does look good. Let's just say it holds up, and it's a good thing. And maybe this is what it's all about. Having a project done like this, and to continue on and do things like this every year, move money forward. The budget, this is what we should be really doing, taking care of the roads, like you've been saying. Every year, move money forward, keep the village roads going. Every year, put money aside and take care of another 2 roads next year, or 1 big road next year. And actually, and not to grandstand or anything, but applaud you guys for doing a nice job. And I appreciate that, I really do. That's what it's all about. And get away from the nonsense and get the job done. I think it was a great job. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Any other
I
comments?
really appreciate it.
Ron Cagle, 10 Maple Avenue. At the risk of beating a dead horse, I saw that the website that the village has a surplus of $50,000.
Yeah.
We have a tennis court that I understand some realtors have depicted as a little perk to live in the village. It would take about $5,000 or $6,000 to take care of
It will
the
take
tennis court.
15,000, just so you know,
How much?
15,000.
It's in the budget.
It's in the budget, and we've looked at it every single spring, and the board that's there looks at it and determines that it's not necessarily
Well, I
to
was
do, and it'll
already-
be back in the budget next spring. And we'll go out there with Ted again and go through and see whether it needs to be.
Ted told me it
done.
was $5,000 or $6,000, but in any event, if it's not taken care of, it'll just be a dump and it'll be illegal if it's not taken care of.
Any other comments? Okay. Resolutions? Resolution 12-2017-1, resolution adopting December 7th, 2017 agenda as printed. So moved. Have a second? All in favor? Motion carries. Okay.
Resolutions 12-2017-2, resolution accepting the monthly reports from December 7th, 2017.
So moved.
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Motion carries. Jeff?
Resolution 12-2017-3, resolution adopting the minutes of October 12th, 2017 work session of the meeting of the Board of Trustees. So moved.
Second? All in favor? Motion carries. Resolution 12-2017-4, resolution adopting the minutes for the October 12th, 2017, I put that twice, business session for the, of the meeting of the Board of Trustees. So moved. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Resolutions 12-2017-5, resolution adopting the minutes from October 26th, 2017 work session of the meeting of the Board of Trustees. So moved.
Second? All in favor? Motion carries.
Resolution 12-2017-16, resolution to approve and authorizing the mayor to cancel cable.
You're on the wrong one. Go to 6.
Difficult yours?
Well, I print mine at the house, so I know you're at 6.
12.
Okay, 6. Do you have that copy of this one?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Same
Oh,
one.
that's it, okay.
Yeah. All right, so resolution 12-2017-6, resolution adopting the minutes from November 9th, 2017 work session of the meeting of the Board of Trustees. So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries. Thumbs up.
Resolution number 12-2017-7, resolution adopting the minutes from November 2nd through November 9th, 2017, business session of the meeting of the Board of Trustees. So moved.
Second. Jeff seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Resolutions 12-2017-8, resolution directing Clerk Newfield to schedule and notice accordingly public hearing for January 11th, 2018, for new local law unnamed of 2018 Village Park.
Did you do the local law?
It's